I'm afraid a lack of clarity by the BBC, or a sort of arrogant desire to be different, a desire to be to promote equality and objectivity, whereas in fact the BBC have 9/11 and the London bombings and so on been quite free with their use of the term terrorist in the past. But no, in this case, they want to avoid that word to uh, to to enjoy some sort of clarity. I don't understand the BBC's reluctance, but the problem is the message that it sends. So it sends a message that it is okay to prevaricate about the definition of the terrorists, Hamas, over that organisation, and this, of course, then gives license to Maggie Chapman, the MSP for uh, northeast Scotland. She wrote, "What's happening in Palestine is a consequence of apartheid, of illegal occupation, of imperial aggression by the Israeli state. Palestinian civilians have seen their homes destroyed, their water stolen, their land appropriated illegally." She goes on. Uh, the or rather, she attached her tweet to another tweet which said, "The oppressed are fighting back for their rights. Don't let the Western media fool you into thinking it's terrorism. This is decolonization." So there have been calls for Humza Yousaf to cut ties with the Greens, the SNP's coalition partners, as a result. And I think Maggie Chapman's comments were beneath the pale. Now, you could say it was just a nuance, but that's what politicians are there for. Politicians are there to nuance ideas and to be clear in the things that they say. And I don't think she was clear. She's since tried to pull back by linking the deaths of civilians in Palestine with the deaths of the civilians in Israel, the deaths of civilians in Gaza. And I think I'm entirely in agreement with the view that the response of the Netanyahu government is brutal. I think, however, one has to make it very clear that Hamas's behaviour was beyond the pale, beyond what is acceptable. And Jenrick, the person working in the Home Secretary's office, the person who seems to do the work for the Home Secretary, has said that those people in the BBC refusing to describe Hamas as terrorists, that this is wrong. He's gone on to say that those people who valorize Hamas, which is a proscribed terrorist organisation in the UK, will be hunted down, arrested and prosecuted. And he said, let us be clear what the world has witnessed. These weren't, as some in the media say, militants or fighters. They were terrorists, they were murderers, they were barbarians, and the BBC or whoever else we see on the television should say it as it is. He described himself as the father of a Jewish family and added, this was not political resistance. The events of the last 48 hours are not a story that needs two sides to be told. It was terror fueled by anti-Jewish hatred and inflicted upon the Jewish people on one of their holiest days. This was not a barrage against military targets. It was the indiscriminate murder, rape and kidnapping of hundreds of completely innocent people, with children as young as 3 and people old enough to have survived the Holocaust. And the Maggie Chapman is not the only foolish individual in public life to have spoken out, valorizing Hamas. The one of the people in the Cambridge Union has also attracted attention, and I think it's really important that we make it very clear that there is a nuanced way of setting out concerns, but there is no nuance when it comes to denouncing terrorism, and there can be no nuance for the indiscriminate killing of civilians by a terrorist organization. I think equally, if we do not call out the wrong of collective punishment, the wrong of throwing missiles and bombs into a significantly crowded place like the Gaza Strip, without giving ordinary citizens the opportunity of escaping, then we are condoning an action which is, I think, equally wrong. And two wrongs don't make a right. So while I think it's absolutely right for Israel to defend itself, while I think it's absolutely right for Israel to pursue Hamas and to eradicate Hamas, I think the missile strikes against Gaza in the way that they're happening are the wrong response, and they send out the wrong signals. And a lot of this is to do with the fact that Mr. Netanyahu, like many of his immediate predecessors, is singing from a very, very vicious hymn sheet, and we should, as neighbours, we should have been able to persuade the Israeli government to deal with the Palestinians and with the people in Gaza. And I think it's a great folly on our part that didn't happen. We cannot turn a blind eye, and we cannot pretend to be uninvolved. We are involved.